You're watching UK Chronics, and today the world is seeing something unbelievable. Prince Harry walked away feeling embarrassed after Australia openly turned away from Meghan Markle. Imagine standing in the centre of Sydney, one of the most lively cities in the world, expecting loud cheers and applause, but instead hearing nothing at all. This was meant to be a big return. It was supposed to be the moment when Harry and Meghan showed they were still important around the world, but instead they arrived to what felt like an empty place. There were no crowds, no cheering fans, only empty metal barriers and people who had clearly moved on. What you are about to see is the exact moment the Sussex Brand hit a hard wall in Australia, leaving Prince Harry clearly shaken and Meghan's carefully built image completely falling apart. From a $3,000 event that almost nobody attended to a shocking mistake at a children's cancer ward, this was not just a bad tour. It was a harsh public rejection that has changed everything for the royal family forever. Now look carefully at Harry's face in these clips. The confident prince is gone. In his place is a man who may be realizing for the first time that people are no longer believing in what they are trying to promote. Why did the Australian public, who were once so welcoming in 2018, decide to turn away in 2026? The answer includes a series of public mistakes so out of touch that even their most loyal supporters are leaving them. We are breaking down the 7 levels of this Australian disaster, including the quiet message Prince William sent that may have ended Harry's chances of ever returning to the royal circle. But before we go into the empty halls and the fashion controversies, we need to talk about the Sunbather Incident. One single moment on a beach that perfectly showed the feeling of an entire country. It is clear proof that you can buy public relations, you can buy followers, but you cannot make a whole country care about you. If you thought the British press was harsh on them, you have not seen anything yet. Australia did not need to protest loudly. They did something even stronger. They simply did not come at all. To understand how big this embarrassment was, we need to look at the main event of their Australian visit, the Her Best Life luxury retreat. This was not just a simple meet and greet. It was promoted as a high-class, life-changing experience for strong and independent women. And the cost for this experience was shocking, a huge $3,000 for each person. For that kind of money, you would expect a full ballroom, a long red carpet, and a lot of media excitement. The Sussex public relations team expected at least 300 high-level guests, ready to listen closely to every word Meghan would say. But when the doors finally opened at the luxury hotel in Sydney, the truth was like a bad dream. Instead of 300 people, only 47 showed up. Think about that. Just 47 people in a room made for hundreds. People who were there described the scene as very strange and almost sad. A huge, open ballroom where more than half of the tables were completely empty. At the back of the room, rows of clean, untouched glasses of water stood like quiet signs of failure. It was so empty that the camera crews had to film the back of one cameraman's head for several seconds just to avoid showing all the empty chairs. This is what people on the internet are now calling Meghan Con. Guests were promised a close and meaningful experience to help improve their lives, but what they actually got was a short 2-hour appearance before Meghan quickly left to go watch a rugby game. One person who attended, and wanted to stay unnamed, said the feeling in the room was less like a royal event and more like the end of a brand. Meghan's first line made things even worse. She reportedly looked at the small group and said, "I've spent all my life investing in women. Can I finally invest in me?" No one missed the irony in that moment. While she was focusing on herself with tickets costing $3,000, the Australian public was making their decision by not spending their money. The difference between 2018 and 2026 is very clear and very painful. 8 years ago, the streets were so full of fans that you could not even see the ground. Today, there is only silence, even during her own press events. Harry's reaction was caught on camera, and it is difficult to watch. He looks around the room, his eyes moving quickly, searching for the crowds that were once always there. He looks embarrassed, not only for himself but for everything connected to the Sussex name. They had risked everything on the belief that they were still global stars. But Australia has now given them a very clear, very strong, and very expensive answer: no. But as bad as the empty chairs looked, the real problem was not about the people who did not come. The real outrage started because of what Meghan did with the small number of people who actually supported her. You see, the greed did not end with the ticket price. While she was speaking about empowerment, a hidden business system was working in the background that would soon upset the entire country. And it involves a luxury fashion website and a shocking break of royal rules that even Harry could not explain or defend. But the empty halls and the failed events were only the beginning. As the Sussexes traveled across Australia, a much more serious and calculated pattern started to show. It is what royal experts are now calling the affiliate link scandal, and it has left a bad feeling even among people who were neutral before. You see, while Meghan was showing herself as someone who cared deeply for people in need, her online team was working non-stop behind the scenes to turn every charity moment into a chance to sell something. Here is how it worked. Within minutes, and sometimes even seconds, after Meghan appeared at a public event, a certain fashion website would upload clear photos of her outfit. But these were not just simple news pictures. They were carefully prepared with links that allowed people to buy every single thing she was wearing. From her $1,200 designer dress to her $500 shoes and even her smallest jewelry pieces, everything was available to purchase. The timing became especially uncomfortable during their visit to a local shelter for homeless people. Imagine the situation. Meghan is standing inside, listening with a serious face as people share stories of deep poverty and struggle. At the same time, online, her team is posting links so that rich followers can copy her style for the price of a small car. It felt less like a caring royal visit and more like a live fashion advertisement. In the Sussex world, it seemed that no serious situation was too important to be used as a background for selling clothes. This kind of selling, known in the industry as merching, is a serious break of royal rules. Members of the royal family are not allowed to make money from their titles or from their public appearances. But after stepping away from their official roles, the Sussexes have been following their own path. The problem is, you cannot do both at the same time. You cannot say you are helping people without selfish goals while also using your fame to promote expensive fashion brands. The Australian public noticed this very quickly. Social media filled with screenshots from the fashion website showing exact times that proved everything was planned together. Critics pointed out that while Prince William and Catherine often choose affordable clothes to stay connected to normal people or wear the same outfits again to support sustainability, Meghan's clothing in Australia showed constant luxury and excess. We are talking about a total wardrobe cost estimated at more than $100,000 for just one trip. And this was happening while she was talking about supporting women. One moment stood out as especially out of touch. Meghan attended an event wearing a designer blazer that cost more than what an average Australian family spends on food for 3 months. When she was asked about the cause she was supporting, she gave a general answer about empowerment, but at the same time she was seen adjusting her sleeve so that the brand name could clearly be seen in photos. Harry, who was once known as the Prince of the People, looked like he was just standing there with no real role, walking slightly behind someone who now looked more like an advertisement than a public figure. This change from helping people to selling products is exactly why the crowds in Sydney were so small. People do not like feeling like they are being sold something while being told they are being inspired. But as uncomfortable as this fashion issue was, it was nothing compared to what happened next. If the fashion website situation was a questionable area, their next action was a complete failure in judgment. Because when they chose to bring cameras into a hospital ward full of sick children, they did not just break royal rules, they crossed a line of basic human respect. And the reaction from doctors and medical staff was about to become their biggest public relations disaster yet. If the fashion situation showed poor taste, what happened next showed a total lack of simple human understanding. We need to talk about their visit to the Royal Children's Hospital. In the world of public relations, there is an unspoken rule. You do not use sick children as a background for taking photos. But during Harry and Meghan's tour, it seemed like those rules did not matter to them. Meghan came into the hospital ward, a place where children are fighting to stay alive. Many of them have weak immune systems because of strong treatments like chemotherapy. Now, anyone who understands basic medical safety knows that these places are very carefully controlled for a reason. But the Sussexes did not just walk in quietly. They brought a full professional camera crew with them. The pictures that came out were meant to look warm and caring. Meghan, wearing another outfit worth around $1,000, leaned over hospital beds, read stories to the children, and smiled for the camera. But the reaction from doctors and nurses in Australia was immediate and very strong. Medical staff started speaking out, pointing to a serious ethical problem. They asked why these children were being used like props for something that looked like a Netflix-style show. But the situation became even worse. People who were there said that the cameras and the large group of people created a noisy and stressful environment in a place that needs to stay calm at all times. There were also reports that important medical rules about masks and cleanliness were loosened just to get the best possible picture of Meghan. Think about that carefully. Risks were taken with the health of sick and vulnerable children, just to create a better public image. One well-known Australian doctor even spoke publicly, calling the visit very inappropriate and a clear misuse of people's private moments. These parents are going through some of the hardest times in their lives. And then a large production team comes in, asking them to sign papers so their sick child can appear in a Sussex video. It did not feel like it was about helping the children. It felt like it was about showing Meghan as a kind and perfect person. And then there was the moment at Bondi Beach. Only a few hours after leaving the hospital, the couple went to one of the most famous beaches in Australia. But the crowds they expected were not there. Instead, the cameras showed something very different. A woman sitting on the sand close to Meghan did not even look up from her book. A young girl, when Meghan tried to speak to her for a sweet moment, pulled her sketchbook closer and chose not to respond. These moments are not just random. Australians are known for being straightforward and honest. They can easily recognize when something feels fake. When they saw how the hospital visit was being used to distract from the Fashion Link scandal, the mood of the country changed from not caring to clearly disliking the situation. You cannot use a cancer ward to cover up the problems of a business deal. It is obvious. It feels planned. And for many people, it is something they cannot forgive. Harry's role in all of this is perhaps the saddest part. He grew up watching his mother, Princess Diana, do real and meaningful work in hospitals. Diana did not need fashion links or a large camera crew to show she cared. She simply came, spent time, and helped people. Watching Harry stand there and allow this kind of polished and commercial version of charity to happen has deeply disappointed many people across the Commonwealth. Even major news outlets, which have often been careful about criticizing the couple, could not ignore this situation. Newspapers like the Sydney Morning Herald and the Melbourne Age started asking the same important question: who is this really for? If the goal was truly to help the children, then cameras would not have been present. If the goal was to support the hospital, then the money from the $3,000 retreat tickets would have been donated. But was it? No one knows. The silence from the Sussex team about where that money went has been very noticeable. They are now learning a difficult lesson that, in Australia, if you act like someone who is only trying to make money, people will treat you that way. But while the public anger was growing, someone much more powerful was watching everything from far away. Prince William, who will be king in the future, saw every headline, every fashion link, and every hospital image. And according to people close to the situation, this was the final moment for him. He has now made a decision that will make sure Harry and Meghan are never welcomed back into the royal family. While the Sussexes were busy managing their online business and filming inside hospital rooms, the real story of their failure in Australia was being shown on the faces of the people who were actually there. Or more clearly, on the faces of the people who did not even care enough to look at them. In the world of fame, there is something even worse than being disliked. It is being ignored. And in 2026, Australia showed Harry and Meghan exactly what it means to be ignored. Let's talk about the image that later spread everywhere online, becoming the main symbol of this entire tour, the Sunbather. As Harry and Meghan walked along part of the beach, surrounded by security and followed closely by their always-present camera crew, they passed just about 5 feet away from a local woman lying on the sand. In 2018, seeing members of the royal family would have caused people to rush forward with excitement. But in 2026, this woman did not even move her sunglasses. She stayed completely still, focused on her book, treating the Duke and Duchess of Sussex as if they were nothing more than a light breeze or an ordinary seagull. This was not a planned protest. There were no angry signs or loud shouting. It was something much more powerful, simple and complete indifference. For someone like Meghan, who seems to enjoy being the center of attention, being ignored in a public place is the biggest loss. The cameras were recording, hoping to catch a moment of connection with the Australian public, but instead they showed a country that had clearly moved on. Then there was the moment with the young girl and her sketchbook, which felt like a hard blow for the Sussex public relations team. During a short walk, Meghan noticed a child drawing in a notebook. In the past, this would have been the perfect moment to show a human connection. The Duchess could kneel down, talk to the child, and appear warm and relatable. But as Meghan came closer and reached toward the notebook, something unexpected happened. The little girl did not smile. She did not offer her drawing. Instead, she quickly held the sketchbook close to her chest and moved away. Her eyes showed a mix of confusion and caution. It was a natural and honest reaction from a child who did not care about royal titles or media deals. She did not want to be part of the Sussex story. This was not just a small rejection. It was a clear refusal of the brand by the younger generation. Harry, standing only a few inches away, looked deeply uncomfortable, almost as if he wished he could disappear into the ground. You could see it in his eyes, the feeling that something important had been lost. The protection of royal status was gone, leaving just two people trying very hard to convince an audience that was no longer there that they still mattered. The difference between this trip and their tour in 2018 is shocking. 8 years ago, they were seen as a perfect couple. Sydney was full of people. There were flowers, tears of happiness, and a real feeling of excitement. Now, in the present, the only things standing still are the metal barriers set up for large crowds that never arrived, now just lining empty streets. The Australian media has been very direct in showing this difference, placing videos from 2018 next to those from 2026. In one video, there is a huge crowd of people. In the other, there is a quiet, empty street with two people walking silently toward a car. This silence is what Harry is taking back with him to California. It is the silence of a country that has seen through the public relations efforts, the private travel, and the use of charity for business. Australians are known for not liking people who act too important without real effort behind it. By trying to present a costly and polished version of themselves, Harry and Meghan forgot an important rule. Stay humble, or do not come at all. But while the public reaction was already cold, the tension inside the royal family was about to grow much stronger. As these images of empty streets and the young girl holding her sketchbook tightly reached London, Prince William was not just embarrassed, he was very angry. He saw the harm being done to the reputation of the monarchy in an important Commonwealth country. As we move toward the final parts of this situation, we begin to see a strong barrier being built around the British throne, one that Harry will not be able to cross again. While Harry and Meghan were acting like royals on the streets of Sydney, the real authority was watching from 12,000 meters away. And it was not only watching, it was carefully taking note of everything. Prince William, who will one day be king, has reportedly reached his limit. For him, this situation in Australia was not just a failed public trip. It was the final act of turning away from the royal system he is expected to lead. According to trusted sources close to the palace, the mood at Adelaide Cottage has changed from simple disappointment to a calm but serious anger. William has watched as his brother allowed a luxury fashion website to use the royal image for profit in the middle of a Commonwealth nation. He watched as the Sussexes turned a children's cancer ward into something like a filming location. But most importantly, he saw the empty streets. In the eyes of the future king, Harry has done something truly shocking. He has made the monarchy look weak. He has made it seem desperate. And in the world of royal power, that is something that cannot be forgiven. The message coming from London is now becoming clear, and it is very serious for the Duke of Sussex. People close to the Prince of Wales say that William has made a strong and final decision about the future. When the time comes for King William's coronation, Harry will not be invited. There will be no moment on the balcony, no official duty, and no place for him inside the Abbey. This is no longer just a disagreement between two brothers. This has become something much bigger, almost like a complete separation. William is building a strong barrier around the British throne, and Harry and Meghan are clearly left outside of it. Why take such a strong step? Because William understands something that Harry seems to have forgotten. The monarchy survives because of respect, not because of attention or online clicks. By turning every public moment connected to royalty into a business chance, the Sussexes have become a risk to the future of the crown. This decision is not only about personal feelings. It is about keeping the monarchy stable. William is said to be working on official rules and legal steps that will fully remove the Sussexes from any remaining royal duties forever. And for the first time, major news outlets, the same ones that once tried to stay neutral, are starting to agree with this direction. Even careful royal reporters are now saying that the Sussex experiment has come to an end. There is a growing belief that as King Charles deals with his own health issues, the safety of the monarchy depends on making a clean break from the situation in California. Media in both the United Kingdom and Australia are no longer asking if Harry will return, but instead how the palace will handle his permanent separation. Harry's face during the last days of the Australia tour showed everything clearly. He looked like a man who knew he had given up something very important for something much less valuable. He looked at the 47 people sitting in that half-empty room and understood that this was now his life. He is no longer the prince loved by the public. He is now a speaker at an event that did not succeed. He is no longer a world figure. He is part of a brand that Australia has openly rejected. The final hurt is not just William turning away from him. It is the understanding that Harry played a part in making this happen. Every sales link, every camera crew in a hospital, and every expensive ticket added another piece to the wall that now stands between him and his family. William's decision is final because it has to be. You can respond to criticism, you can try to change negative news, but as William is said to have told someone close to him, you cannot change the reality of an empty room. The quiet reaction from the Australian public has given William the support he needed to bring this situation to an end. Australia did not need to protest loudly. They did not need signs, large crowds, or angry articles. They did something much more powerful. They simply stayed away. And in the end, that silence, that complete lack of interest and excitement, became the strongest judgment Harry and Meghan have ever faced. As their private jet left Australia, they left behind more than empty halls and untouched glasses of water. They left behind the idea that they were still needed. For years, the story has been that the world was very interested in them. But Sydney, Melbourne, and even the quiet woman on the beach showed something different. The Sussex name has now changed from something people followed with interest to a warning story about what can happen when someone confuses fame with respect. You see, fame can be created with a strong public relations team and big media deals. But respect is earned through helping others, being consistent, and not thinking only about yourself, qualities that were not clearly seen during this tour with all the sales links and hospital cameras. Prince William's reported plan to protect the monarchy is not just a legal step. It also reflects what the public feels. We are now seeing the end of this chapter. People are tired of constant drama, public conflicts, and using royal status for personal benefit. If this trip to Australia has shown anything, it is that you can argue against criticism, ignore negative comments, and try to control the news. But as the empty metal barriers in Sydney clearly showed, you cannot change the meaning of an empty room. The time of what people are calling the grifters of Oz has ended, and the silence they left behind is the only message that truly matters. If this video felt different to you, you know what to do. Press the like button, subscribe to get honest royal updates, and write in the comments what moment from this Australia trip shocked you the most. Was it the empty hall or the hospital situation? I am reading every single comment. Thank you for watching.